So, hopefully this is coming out after my little introduction video. My very first video on this channel was a short, and that is a video of me reading this, of Court of Thorns Roses. So, let's consider this episode 1 of a series I'm going to call Return to Reading. And, fun fact, DNF'd this a year ago. I made it to about chapter 10 or 11, and felt like I was pushing too hard to get through it, because it started off strong to me. I liked the pacing, but then once they got into prison, it felt like it came to a grinding halt. But everyone on TikTok and in the comments kept saying, keep pushing, keep reading. And I couldn't, because I'm one of those people where it's just like, I feel like you shouldn't have to keep pushing to get through a book. I feel like it's okay to put a book down, to DNF a book, if you don't want to push through it. So I did. I DNF'd it. And this year, I decided, you know what? After having it briefly on my Pango shop, and it being wishlisted more than anything, I was just like, you know what? Fine. Everyone is going crazy about it. Let's give it another shot. Maybe I just missed something. So I started it again. And, rereading, it started off strong. Again, the pacing in the beginning. I like the pacing. But one of my other problems was I don't like Feyre. I am not a Feyre fan. Like, for the main character, you should want to be able to follow the character. I don't. But I pushed. And you know what? The opening, the pacing, I like it. I do. The opening is great. The introduction to Tamlin before knowing his name as the weird amalgamation creature he is. That is terrifying, and I love it. But then once it got Princean again, that's when it slowed down, and I just couldn't. I felt like I was pushing again. And I had that same feeling of I shouldn't keep reading. Maybe I was right the first time to put it down. So then I started posting to TikTok. And I got the same comments. Keep pushing. It'll pick up. We promise. Well, I got past where I DNF'd the book originally. And when people say it picks up, let me tell you something. Like, let me tell you something. It picks up. Because I got to around chapter 15, 16. It picked up. And chapter 17. Like, I'm not going to spoil anything. Like, this is going to be a mostly spoiler-free video, but I might mention some things. Actually, you know what? Let's, since this is following my journey, and this is episode 1, because I will be taking you along with me. I am at chapter, 18? Am I on 18? Am I in the middle? Oh, I'm on chapter 20. I'm on chapter 20 as of recording this. Who was going to tell me this is a horror series? Like, I mean, you had some horror elements at the start with the introduction of Tamlin and some of the monster encounters. That was great. I loved that. But chapter 17... If you told me to start with chapter 17, you would have had me from the start. Because the nightmare to kick off that chapter, and then you know what? Screw it, this is gonna be a spoiler. The whole bit with the fairy with their wings ripped off. That was so gruesome, so dark, and so sad. I legit cried. I needed time to process before I could continue reading after that. Who was gonna tell me? This isn't a romance. This is a horror series. Everyone focuses on the romance, on it being a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm sorry, are we reading the same book? Are we just gonna gloss over the horror elements here? They describe the wounds, the blood seeping out of where the wings were. You know what? I am with Lucian on this. I would have been walking into the room and just joining him in feeling absolutely thrown off and possibly sick. Because just, what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We need to start talking about that a bit more. So I took some time after reading that chapter to process, because that felt like a whirlwind. I wasn't expecting that out of a series people have described as a fantasy romance series. Because again, people, when talking about ACOTAR, always focus on the romance elements. I feel like we are glossing over a lot of things we need to talk about. Because what? And then don't get me started on like the 180 in the following chapter. Like, yeah, I like that we got a bit of a cool down. I do. But the immediate 180 from the extreme horror of chapter 17 to just frolicking in the fields, just date with, like, double date, essentially, with Tamlin and Lucian, and I'm just like, what that? And then suddenly we're describing Tamlin's just body again, and I'm sorry, I'm still processing the previous chapter. You don't get to pull this 180 on me. But I do like the fact that it sort of gets a little lighter for those following chapters, because again, I just got to chapter 20 as of episode 1 of this series we are calling Return to Reading. So let's talk about some things. The mysterious she is terrifying to me right now, especially with that nightmare from the start of chapter 17, because just and faceless and claws and just what? And the fact that this mysterious she is probably the one that ripped the wings out, and also, if I remember correctly, was she also the one that got the eye? And she doesn't sound nice. She sounds very terrifying. But yeah. But can we also talk about one of the things that I find annoying with Feyre? I get it. She likes painting. She likes art. But I'm noticing something every chapter that is annoying the absolute crap out of me, and that is the amount of times she finds something that is just so awe-inspiring to her, and she just has to say that nothing can do it justice. No painting could ever do this justice. It's so beautiful, so otherworldly. Just like nothing could capture it. Like, I get it. You are a human who likes art, trapped in the Feywild. I get it. You like to paint. So do I. But you don't see me just saying that about everything. It does get a little annoying after a while, hearing her say that every single chapter. It's like literally every other chapter, there's always something where it's just so awe-inspiring to her that she has to say that. But yeah, can you tell I don't like Feyre? I don't like Feyre. Look, my favorite character so far has been Lucian. I don't like Tamlin. He has been too grumpy. It's like, I liked him better when he was terrifying. Is that weird? I liked him better when he was terrifying, and we didn't know whether or not he would actually KO her. Like, I liked it better when he was actually standing in his power and terrifying. Although I do like him better happy. I will give him that. But just the immediate, I think that's also why it took me a while to push through it, because he went from terrifying, not giving a damn about her, and just being this like powerhouse in a sense, to just brooding, angsty. It was hard to get through. Like, I'm starting to sort of like him a bit more now that he's getting a bit more fleshed out, but yeah, no, I still prefer Lucian over Tamlin. Although, as for the world building, the creatures are, excuse my French, fucking terrifying. Again, if you told me this was a horror series from the start, you would have had me at hello. Like, 100%, you would have had me right from the get-go if you just told me this was a horror franchise. And not, oh yeah, fairies, romance, Beauty and the Beast. It's like, if you told me this had horror elements in it, right from the get-go, yeah, no, you would have had me at hello. But, whew, the Naga? Mm-hmm. And you know what? The cereal? That's actually kind of a cool concept. I dig that. I dig that a lot. But what was that? The puka? The thing that shifted into her father to trick her? To like lure her out? That thing was cool. Although I will admit, having that introduced into the story when she was in the rose garden later, just looking and talking to Tamlin, I did initially think there was a possibility it could have been one of those that she was talking to. I did have a little bit of a thought that it could have been one of those, just pretending to be him. But it wasn't. So the fact that they introduced that as a thing that can happen and that they could run into, and then just being like, oh yeah, no, it's cool. That was actually Tamlin she was talking to. Like it was a little. It's like it has me a teensy bit on edge. I will give it that. I like that. It gives me a little bit of caution when reading any scene where she leaves the actual physical building. I like that. Give me more of that. But granted, am I obsessed with this yet? No, I'm not. Absolutely not. I am liking it. I will give it that. So far, I am liking it. I'm not quite obsessed, but I'm digging the vibes so far. Even if it did take till chapter 15 or 16 for me to actually be like, oh, I get it now. I get it. Also, can we just talk about something that is slightly bugging me? Tongue clicking. I'm just imagining them going up to random people they don't like and going, and just trying to be like squirrels, like angry squirrels at people. Just like, I get that's not what it means, but that's what I think of when I see the words tongue clicking. It's either that or just going, which is even weirder. But also, house arrest is a concept. I think that's interesting. House arrest being a concept in that universe. And plumbing? I was initially thinking, like, how far back does plumbing go, like, realistically, historically? Because I initially went into this thinking sort of, I guess if anything, sort of like D&D style, sort of like Ren Fair vibes. I wasn't necessarily thinking, oh yeah, no, there'd be running water here. I didn't think there'd be plumbing. I didn't think house arrest would be a concept. Also, just the fact that they're now just casually calling Tamlin Tam. Like, Lucian I get. Lucian knows him. But the fact that even Feyre is just casually just talking about him, calling him Tam, it feels a little out of place. I don't know why. To me that just feels weird. But yeah, so far that is how I feel about ACOTAR, A Court of Thorns Roses. I do have the box set coming in today, well, as of recording this, so I do intend on reading the rest of these. But we shall see on whether or not I get obsessed with the series. Maybe, maybe not. I'm curious to see if there's more horror elements in it. I want to see if it gets scarier, more monster attacks. I want to see if this mystical she they keep talking about, this mysterious she they are talking about, is just as terrifying as she is being made out to be. So, that is episode 1 of Return to Reading. We've made it to chapter 20 of The Court of Thorns and Roses. We shall see how this goes. So, if you guys want to follow along on the journey with this, feel free to subscribe. This is a new channel. Well, new for this. It's an old channel for me. I just never did anything with it because I finally got back into it. And I do have a TikTok. Granted, I do have a Nanofic 192 TikTok. That is more of my author stuff because I am an indie author too. Hi. I have some fantasy stuff I'm working on. I also have a collection of 6 scary stories called Dark Pine Tales of Terror, if you like urban legends and like Twilight Zone-y vibes. That's that. But this is a reading channel. Maybe I'll talk about my books here. But I do have a sort of tie-in TikTok account called Return to Reading. So occasionally you will see my reactions to this on there. My reactions similar to the short I posted here. So yeah. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.